Welcome to Holistic Health Net, where we strive for a healthy DC. This show explores different alternative practices for all ages in different places throughout DC. On today's episode, we will talk about one unique aspect of the vegan diet, and that is soup. We will talk with Sara Polon, the owner of Soupergirl, which is a soup company and dine-in shop off Carroll Street, and then we'll come back here in the studio for a delicious soup tasting.
My name is Sara Polon, and I'm the owner of Soupergirl. We opened our business in November 2008. We opened our original retail location in September of 2011. And then a few months ago, I think it's been about 2 months now, we expanded into this location. People in DC are overworked, they're tired, but they want to eat healthfully. It's a very fit city, it's a very health-conscious city. So we bring healthy, local, sustainable food to them. Or they come here, they go to the supermarket. We're constantly expanding our business. But at the core, we really want to bring responsible, sustainable food to the hungry citizens of DC. We want you to feel good about eating this. I mean, that's all I eat. We are really committed to cooking seasonally. So you're never going to see a tomato soup in January, or a tomato bisque or gazpacho in January, and you're never going to see a pumpkin soup in August. We cook whatever's in season, so our menu is changing constantly. And we're vegan, and we're healthy, but the possibilities are endless with soup. So we cook, there are two themes, basically, chunky and puree. So, for example, a chunky would be barley soup, a barley mushroom soup, or we have right now barley chickpea kale in the kettles, where the kale is local. Or we have lentil soup, sweet potato soup, ginger, lentil, apple, things like that. And then we have purees, pumpkin soup, split pea soup, all kinds. So we really have fun with our spices and our textures. We use quinoa and wheat berry, really having fun with the different grains and legumes and things that are available. You can turn anything into soup.
Welcome back to Holistic Health Net. I'm joined here by Sara so we can get a little more on the process and health benefits of creating these unique vegan soups. So first of all, Sara, thank you for joining us here today in the studio.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So in the DC area, you mentioned that there are a lot of people here that are overworked and they strive to have this fit and healthy lifestyle through diet and exercising. So how does the soup that you offer at Soupergirl, how does that reflect that?
Sure. As you mentioned, DC is full of overworked people, but it's also a really fit and healthy city. And we have a ton of farmers markets all over the area. So people clearly are concerned about eating locally, eating healthfully, but they're really busy. And I know that before I started this company, I used to go to farmers markets and pick up some apples and sweet potatoes and kale and maybe leeks. And then about a week and a half later, I'd have rotting kale and Swiss chard in my fridge because I didn't have the time to cook. I didn't know what to cook or how, and I just couldn't be bothered, but I still wanted to eat healthfully and locally. And that was really the inspiration for starting the business. So what we do is we'll buy that apple, buy that sweet potato, or actually 200 pounds of apples and sweet potatoes and greens, whatever's available at the market. We have wonderful relationships with a whole network of local farmers, and we'll cook that for you. And we have hundreds of soups in our database, all based on each season and what's available locally throughout the year, and we make a ton of different varieties of soups.
Well, that sounds really great. So now we're going to shift gears here and have a little soup tasting segment so I can have my soup taster joined by the Holistic Health Net mascot. So this first one here, I believe, is the Italian basil.
That's an Italian barley soup.
Oh, Italian barley soup.
Mm-hmm, Italian barley with greens.
So can you talk a little bit about like the ingredients in this? It looks like there's some type of grain in here and some vegetables.
Yep. So this is a great example of a nice spring soup. We've It has barley, which is incredibly healthy. It's very comforting and warming and also great for you with protein and fiber. You're going to feel great eating that soup. And we also have, as you'll see, local greens. Right now in the market, it's kind of in between the winter and summer season. So there's the spring the spring crops haven't really come in, so you have a lot of greens at the market. So our soups feature a lot of greens. So here you have local organic spinach along with the barley and the spices, and you might notice from eating that soup it's very, very low salt. What we do when we cook at Soupergirl, we want to cook like you would be cooking at home. If you were to have gone to the farmer's market and bought these ingredients, you wouldn't put in preservatives or chemicals, and hopefully you wouldn't oversalt it, and that's what we're really trying to do. It's home-style cooking.
That's great. So would this be considered I know you said there's chunky and puree at Soupergirl. Would this be under the chunky category?
That is definitely a chunky soup, but because it is definitely getting a little warmer outside, we make it a little brothier. If we do a mushroom barley soup in the winter, it's very thick and warming. This we try to make on the lighter side because it is spring.
And so these ingredients all are part of the season. I think you mentioned that. All right. So that was very tasty, by the way. It was not really good. So now with this one, the Southwestern
sweet potato.
Sweet potato. And I'm assuming this is a puree?
That is a puree, yeah. One question we get a lot is, are we really vegan? Because a lot of our pureed soups, people swear that there's heavy cream in them, and there is not. We cook slowly. We really work with our percentages of, like for example, sweet potato to broth. Sweet potato in itself, when you puree it, can be very creamy. As I mentioned, we're now transitioning into the spring season, but we still have some winter crops left in storage. For example, sweet potatoes. So this soup is made with local organic sweet potatoes and Vivaldi white potatoes, which makes it so creamy. Then we take those, puree them, and add some spices to really add some very unique flavors. So, for example, adobo chili, chipotle pepper, things like that to give it a little kick.
Well, that's great. Yeah, we're definitely tasting all these awesome ingredients. Thank you for joining us today in the studio, Sarah. It was really good to have you, and these soups were incredible.
Thank you.
You can check out Soupergirl at Soupergirl's shop off of Carroll Street, and you can also check out their product at Whole Foods in Georgetown as well. Thanks for watching Holistic Health Net, and don't forget to check us out on Twitter at DC Health Net and on Facebook.com/Holistic Health Net. We'll see you next time.